recording and getting ready to go live on Twitch. Welcome to Howard Taylor's Drafting Table, Big Dumb cover art 4. This is my fourth session working on the cover for Schlock Mercenary Big Dumb Objects, which, as of this recording, we are still kickstarting. I feel like I have a long way to go on this piece. I'm super right now because yesterday's stream, I streamed for 3 hours in the Engle week of comics, and that's kind of I mean, 3 hours is not a full work day for me, but it's kind of draining. So some cover art for, let's move that out of the way, and I've got a monitor hanging out in the background that I should probably rotate out of sight so it's not distracting. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. And my phone just chirped at me. No time to care. All right. Let's do this. The project, let's change glasses. The project today is to get this background working. And I mean, right now it just looks like, you know, a jumble of crap. The background is, well, it needs to reflect the title of the book. It needs to reflect the science fiction concept of the big dumb object, the giant space construct. I need to check my video configuration real quick. It looks like I might be, yeah, it's trying to autofocus. That idiot. Let's turn that off. Sharpness is still where it's supposed to be. All right, is that better? That looks better to me. Okay. The science fiction concept of the big dumb object, the general shape of things, and I've gone back and forth on this. This book has the giant space tree from the Esperaren, and you know, I can have the top of the tree here and the tree, you know, coming toward us. This Tagon is coming toward us, and that puts the back of the picture here and the front of the picture here, and that's fine. Like I said, I went back and forth on this. I could put the top of the tree here and the back of the tree here, or excuse me, the trunk of the tree here, which would, you know, cross things up a little bit, but I left enough, and so I'm going to go with my first instinct, which was the top of the tree goes at this end, the trunk of the tree, and all the city bits on it go at this end. And so the first step is to erase a lot of my previous lines and begin shaping the tree. In order to make this look big, part of what needs to happen is we need to be looking at the bottom of the giant solar panel leaves of the tree. So I will draw the bottoms of these leaves. And I think pulling things in together like this. Some of them are closer to us and will need to be a little bit larger. But ultimately, the tree is going to completely fill this space, right? Does it look right? Does it look right to you? Two viewers in chat, both of you. Not sure. The other piece that needs to happen is I need to tighten this bit of action, and this space in here, I think this needs to stay empty. This needs to stay negative space. But I think in some of this space here, I need to get other characters from the story, and Landon needs to be shooting at something. But those decisions will be easier to make if I have pulled the tree trunk in the directions I want to pull it. And showing which way it comes is important. So tree trunk, through there, up here, and up, I think, rather than down. So we've got these movement lines going up. Yeah, maybe down is the right answer. This line is coming down, and so having this cross it is visually appealing, but the angles of movement of all of these things are up this way. So I think I have to have the tree. I think I have to have the tree dropping. And yeah, these are absolutely the sorts of decisions I make all the time on the fly, looking at the shapes of things and the lines that I've done. Okay, so if I put action in here, I will lose track of some of the detail of the tree, and that will be problematic. All right. And then I've got a monster here, and part of what happens with these trees, no, let's have break the profile. Let's have Baron break the profile, is that we have these pod-like rooms sticking out of the trunk. I need to put some of these things out of my way. You can't see them. I can sure see them. Put some of these things out of my way so that I drop my pencil and drop my eraser and pick them back easily. Okay, so this is, and yes, I'm messing with gravity. There is not a consistent down here, so these would be floors on that pod. think wants to trace the angle of the tree a little bit. By putting it there, I've blocked a piece of the trunk, but I think I'm still okay with the line of things. And then, that's a good point, the line of things. I should have trunk type grain running around this to help us see the curvature of thing. That's going to look silly because that's wrapping right around his head. So it needs to wrap to there and around, and this to here and behind. And the pod has its stripes, which indicate, you know, stories, levels, whatever. Okay, and then the spit test, which is we spit on it and we say, blah, it's terrible. Fun thing about streaming this is that the video that I'm looking at, the video you're looking at, is much lower resolution than obviously what's on the table in front of me. If I stare down at this, it's easier. It's easy for me to get lost in areas, you know, this big, just in small spots as I focus. Sitting back and staring at it at the screen is kind of cool because I can see the shapes that I'm trying to create, and I get a better sense of whether or not they're working. And I can tell right now that those horizontal lines and these horizontal lines are working against each other. Horizontal is a funny word to use in this context because we don't have a proper horizon. And all right, so is that looking better? Maybe a little. Maybe a little. Okay. Now we grab the kneaded eraser. I really love these guys. Really love these guys. Grab the kneaded eraser and brush over all of this and make another pass with the pencil because I'm not confident enough yet to ink those. Hello, red bookworm. I don't know what those little icons are. Is that heart glasses on a dude with a mohawk? Or is he drunk? I don't know. I don't speak emoji yet. Another pencil lead. So fun, let's, haven't done this in a while. This is the length of the leads that I put in the pencil. And this is the length of the part that just never gets used. And so, oops, well, that one's gone. Nope, there it is. Found it on my chair. So yeah, that piece, that is a solid 25% of the length of the lead. And I don't get to use it because the pencil sleeve, the interior mechanical sleeve, when the lead has gotten that short, the sleeve doesn't have enough of a grip on it to prevent the piece from sliding around and rotating. And so it's useless to me because it pushes around, it doesn't hold a point, it doesn't behave like I need it to behave. So of course that one breaks. And so I just have to eject what's left of it and begin again. Okay, now if I put a sort of a gasket flange, border around the edge of this, and then use that as my guide for grain. That's not moving in the right direction. I shouldn't have turned my head. Shouldn't have turned the page. What I can do is create, instead of a wood grain, sort of a circuit pattern in the giant organic tree, which seems to fit. Oh, thank you, Squig. Squiggatoo. Squig. I nickname people that I've just met on Twitch. Probably shouldn't do that. You didn't explicitly grant me permission to shorten your name. It should be noted, let's see, if I put a spiral, oh, that'll be cool. If I can get that to work, if I can get that little spiral line happening behind the hair filament thingies of the sashiko, that'll be neat. All right. And then let's take this one and double him back and bring something in from off panel here. Okay, that is a lot of detail. That is a lot of detail. How do you make that awesome creepy tentacle heart? That is a cool. Sorry for those of you watching on YouTube. Squiggatoo has emoji'd us. How's that for a sentence I didn't think I would ever hear myself say? Squiggatoo has emoji'd us with a cool tentacle thing. All right, the challenge is that if these lines are too heavy, it'll detract from this. So the good news is I can go really light with the ink. I can go really, really light with the ink. And I can tell Travis to cut out all of this space and knock back the line art. God dang it, you're getting frames. I am sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Let me check real quick. I am in a gigabit router, but I may have, yep, I absolutely have the stream live on my dashboard, which is it's going to pull a little more data down the pipe than we want. Bear in mind, though, this house has 6 full-time residents and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, at least 18 devices capable of pulling down 1080p video. Boy, I hope they're not all on. That would be obscene. But I know for a fact that at least 3 of the people who game in this household game while watching a video. Squigga2 says the frames seem fine now. That suggests that the problem was me and not my housemates. I say housemates. My wife, Sandra, my daughter, Kellyanna, who, I kinked it. Man, it did not take me long to screw up the inks. I might get to keep that line, but I doubt it. My daughter, Kellyanna, my wife, Sandra, and Kellyanna's fiance, who is not currently in the house, but he spends a lot of time here. This is not the face of someone being critical of that. Tyler is the best. He is so much better a person than I ever was. He's thoughtful. He's awesome. He's also not in the house playing a game right now, so I can't blame him for bandwidth issues. Oh, I have rotated it off so none of you can see it. That was cruel of me. Blame Tyler Squad. Squig has hashtagged at us. B. Jerry says, longtime reader, first time viewer. Welcome, B. Jerry. I was gonna say a thing that was, I was gonna ask Squigga2, who commented earlier that okay, I'm gonna have to screen cap that piece of chat and save it for myself. There's an emoji that's built out of, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 parts that forms a Cthulhu face. That's pretty cool. But Squigga2 earlier said, you know, you've come so far in your drawing abilities since I started Schlock Mercenary. I wanted to ask, how long, Squig, have you been following Schlock Mercenary and the attendant drawing abilities of its creator? Because while a lot of things I've gotten better at, there are a lot of things that I still just haven't learned, and I'm and you know what we're seeing here is me creating a cover and going into far more detail than I would ever go into on the strip. So the comparison isn't completely apt. Squig says, since about year 2 of writing excuses, however long that's been, year 2 of writing excuses would be 2 years after 2008, so around 2010. So it's 2019 now, about a decade. Wow. I feel a little bad because one of our Typecast RPG cast members, Charlie Holmberg, was commenting to Donald, our producer, um, about the difficulty that she was having keeping up with some things. Um, and it, she's 31. And she said, oh, and Donald's like 20. Um, and she says, oh, Donald, just wait. It's, it's because I'm getting old. And I playfully, but with expletives, uh, called her out on that because 20 years ago, I was 31. Um, and, losing track of things. There's a lot of things that can cause you to lose track of things. But I'm here to tell you that at age 31, it's not old age. I do not know what I'm doing with a lot of these lines. I haven't yet convinced myself. I haven't yet made the argues well for stopping. I haven't yet made the decision whether these lines are all defining spaces or whether they are like tree grains and may terminate without having connected or formed a loop. But anyway, finishing the story about Charlie. I feel bad because I think she felt bad, and it's always a challenge. Always a challenge. It's not something that happened on camera, which is awesome, but it's always a challenge in those sorts of social settings to make sure that people understand when you are joking and when you are not. All right, now I need to stand back and look at that through the eyes of the camera, and it's okay, but I don't love it. I very much do not love it. We've been talking, the typecast crew has been talking about some content things we can be doing. One of them, and if you're here watching this stream, it's something you might be very interested in. One of them is me doing model sheets, pre-sketches along the lines of Dan's Dungeon Master Ready Room, model sheets and pre-sketches for the scribbling I do on the game sessions, because it's so useful to see ahead of time, to know ahead of time what it is I'm going to draw. That line is almost certainly not a keeper. Another thing that we're looking at doing, and Dan has lots of experience with this from the 11 years he spent running Time Wasters Guide, is reviews and discussions of games, because there are a lot of game designers and manufacturers who are interested in having us say things about their stuff. All right, sit back and look at it. And part of what I'm trying to do here is make these lines be closer together these lines, and I haven't actually done any or penciled enough of it to have it be good. But it seems to be working. Time for a pass with the eraser. I got 22 viewers here in chat. Welcome, new viewers. This is Big Dumb Cover Art 4. Big Dumb Cover Art 1 was an episode in which I did not know what I was going to put on the cover of the Big Dumb Objects book. I flat out did not know, and so we talked about it in chat, and I scribbled and I markered up something that is gross and clumsy and silly and will totally end up in the Big Dumb Objects book at a small scale. People said, oh, that should be an alternate cover. That's so cool. Oh, guys, I love that you like it, but I just couldn't bring myself to stare at it that long. So that was Big Dumb Cover Art 1. Big Dumb Cover Art 2 was almost all pencils, and it was me laying this out in pencil, figuring out where Tagon's head was, and blocking out some blobs of things. Then I think I inked Tagon and the bomb, although to this degree. Big Dumb Cover Art 3 was beginning of this week, I think. And in that one, you can see there's some white paint here, and I cleaned up a whole bunch of lines here, and I added the alien and Landon, and I tightened Schlock up, and I put Chizulo in the background, and then stared and stared and stared and stared at the page to second guess myself and see if it was actually right. By the way, I realized I did, in point of fact, have another Posca. Where'd my garbage can go? There it is. Another Posca, a little white paint pen. This one, almost dead to me. Important life lesson on these white pens. And the important life lesson is never, under any circumstances, should you... Wow, that did not work. That worked way worse than I could have imagined it working. Never, under any circumstances, should you try out a new white pen, get off the floor, you, on the piece you're working on. Why, you ask? Well, because it has a tendency to dribble. And in order to start them, I don't know if you can see the nib on this guy, but in order to start them, you have to mash down on the nib to free up the ink. Yep, that, right there, that. See, that right now is not on this. I'm going to set that aside and grab a different test page. I don't know if you can see. You can't. The camera aiming over my shoulder. I'll go ahead and give it a twist. Can I do that? Give my camera a twist over here at my painting station. See, right, where can I point at it? How do I do it? Right there. A roll of shop towels. Those shop towels are a long way from the mess I just made. Oh, looks like I already tore one off. already tore one off that already has some white paint on it. All right, where'd I set the new pen? Which one's the new pen? Ah, jeez. This is why I can't have nice things. Are you the new one? No, you're looking like the old one. Are you the old one? I think you're the old one. Set you down, pick you up. Yeah, you look nice and clean and wonderful and clean. A moment of silence for the note card, which bravely sacrificed itself. Okay, let's talk for a moment about this poor note card and whether or not it actually sacrificed itself, because it didn't volunteer. No, I threw it in front of that bullet. I threw it in front of that bullet. Okay. Shop towels. These are little thumbtack magnets. I love them so much. I have a row of them down here at the bottom of the table that, hey, one of them got paint on it. Where'd that shop towel go? And there's a little bit of paint there. All clean. What I was going to say is that I have a row of them at the bottom of the table to keep, let's angle it slightly back the direction it was. Okay. And they keep the paper from sliding into my lap. This drafting table it has a name on it somewhere. It's a massive, I should take a picture of it and just post it. It's a massive industrial, they were building these things in the 70s. This is a dinosaur of a drafting table. And I love that I can angle it up. I don't have the old hardware, which was, pulleys and things for positioning stuff. You can see all of the little pinholes from whoever used it before I did. But the thing it doesn't have is a lip to catch a piece of paper. And I have been fighting with the absence of that lip forever. And by forever, I mean 15 years, because I think I've had the table. I think I've had the table since 2003, 2004. All right. Gosh, I'm an idiot. All right. This is the one that doesn't work anymore. This is the one I just made fresh. This is the shop towel that I am putting in my hand, just in case it betrays me. Cad Dang It asks in chat, why haven't you added a lip? Because it's not wood. I can't I can't just nail things into it. We're seeing your head and not your drawing. Did I lean all the way in like that? That's frightening. I'm sorry. Ideally, the camera be positioned slightly differently so that I couldn't accidentally do that. But we're still fine-tuning this process. So modifying the table itself is difficult, but it's metal. It takes magnets. This is just a ceramic magnet. These are rare earth magnets, which means I can add a lip just with magnets. This really, guys, this is the sound of me. Maybe 45 minutes in, we're 40 minutes in. This is the sound of me putting off the process, procrastinating the really hard parts, which are when these pieces begin to intersect in the background. And, oh, all right, so tree trunk. If there's a thing there, it'll emerge under Tagon's arm and that will look weird. If there's a thing wrapping up from this side, that'll look a little better. So we get one there, and then the loop, the ring of the tree, the circumference of the tree runs about like that. And my rule of constructing these guys is they follow lines of circumference for the most part. But I need to make these smaller. All right, so we've got that one and that one. And this one. That might actually work. That might actually work. Okay, scanning chat. It's an artifact. Yes, it needs a stiff lower lip. Ha! Gorilla glue and a strip of balsa wood. What I have is a strip of finely sanded rounded corner walnut that's got a bunch of rare earth magnets in it, and I'd been using that as a lip for quite a while and really liked it. The problem with it is that it kept catching junk, and the glue that I used to put the rare earth magnets in it is not as strong as the rare earth magnets. So yeah, I need to have something coming out from under his arm. I got to show that a little bit. And so it started coming apart, and right now it is sitting on the kitchen table and awaiting somebody to fix it. And while I was waiting for it, I thought, well, I'll buy some of these little thumbtack magnets and see if I can get by. And what I discovered is these may actually be a better solution. All right, so we have some circumference lines that are telling me the curve of the tree, and we have some longitudinal lines that are telling me the direction of the grain, and that creates sort of a graph that will let me freehand some bits of circuitry. Squiggatoo says in chat, best part about getting hit by a car a month ago, I have a valid excuse to not do things I don't feel like doing. Any sentence that begins, the best part about getting hit by a car is not going to end with something awesome. I think I may still have, okay, give me just a moment. It's probably shoved up here. Good enough, pretty good. Put it in note. I might have put it in note. There's no way I put it in awesome. It might be in posterity, though. No. Oh, come on, for the love of money. I'm flipping through the drawings I did at Typecast. These are These are my folders of typecast art. There it is. And I need to set this one aside because this one is for Squiggatoo. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? No idea how exactly to get it to you. Yes, Damn Flames says, you're so organized. Yes, I'm so organized. I knew it was in one of these folders. It's in the folder labeled Pretty Good. This is the folder labeled Posterity. People don't get those. That's the folder labeled Awesome. And this is the one labeled Good Enough, which unfortunately has enough things in it that it's some of our Patreon subscribers will be getting. Which folder did the tiefling playing an eggplant go into? I don't recall. And as terribly interested as I am now in finding out and resorting those things, that's procrastination brain saying, yeah, Howard, this thing you're getting ready to do right now, it's really hard. You'll probably screw it up. You should do something else. You should do something besides work. All right, circumference line. Well, I just changed the shape of the tree trunk, so let's own it. No, let's not own it. I don't like that. I need to keep the curve the way I had it. Circumference. And boy, I add that. Yeah, that's just terrible. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Got to be careful with this guy. He is brand new and wants to leak on everything. All right, that seems to work. That seems to work. I could aggressively plan. You know what? I need to. It is time. It is time for me to put in the line that defines the battlefield that they are on. This is the kind of line that is super hard to repent of because it connects to so many things. And the moment you start changing its shape or changing its path, break the whole picture, and argues well for having locked it in long before this point in ink. But ink is scary. Always just a little bit worried when I start putting ink down, because ink means I'm committing to a decision. All right. Thumbnail. Let's go back over Tagon's hand, because I've erased in there enough that the pencil under the ink has come up and taken some of the ink with it. And when I scan, that will show up as a speckled line instead of a solid black line. And we just can't have that. I see a line that needs to go away. Big surprise. And that one. Okay, and stare at it on the screen. Yeah. Okay, it's a little crowded right here. But that's because I haven't finished rendering that bit. All right. What's next? Next is possibly tree grain, but I've reached the point with the tree that it's now starting to interstulo, and I think before I commit to grain, I need to reshape or to finalize the shape on the upper part of the tree. So Landon's gun. Should I go Kirby Crackle on the weapon effect there? It goes Kirby Crackle is so easy to do when you just use a Photoshop brush for it. It's terribly time consuming when you need to do it with a circle template. But I think it'll look better. I think it'll look better if I circle template it. Kirby Crackle is a collection of circles in which some of the circles define the shape and some of the circles are cutouts of the shape. It's called Kirby Crackle, Kirby, because it was used a lot by Jack Kirby. So to do it, we begin with a circle. It's all about faking energy effects by doing cool things with geometry. All right, that weapon blast is now traveling different different angle than it was. Do I have that outer circle in the right place? I don't think I do. I think I need to recenter it. Pull it forward a little bit. Okay. Another lead breaking all the time. All right. So we have that. We don't draw the interior of the blast. And then I start adding, and I'm almost certainly doing it not the way Kirby would have done it. We start drawing soap bubbles. Come on. And then let's see if I can freehand this into something that looks cool. I'm hating it so much. I'm going to run an eraser over it to take up a layer of waxy pencil. Stay. And then I'm going to grab my superfine 0.05 pigment liner. We are screening Chizulo's trunk a little bit. Questioning the life choices that led me to this moment. It dribbled. It betrayed me. Gotcha. grab our blotter sheet, or sorry, we grab our towel, and we give the pen a moment to think about what it did. And we go back in again. One of the things that makes the Kirby crackle so cool is that it gives you a way to visualize energy effects that are just super fanciful, and it can be duplicated with math. It's you know, when I said you know, in Photoshop or in some of these other paint and create programs, there are brushes that are just Kirby crackle. Yeah, man, new pen, so enthusiastic. Big bead of whiteout, big bead of gouache paint, just waiting to dribble all over my page. Okay, we have a little bit of energy effect, and then I can throw some flair around it. And just define this space as, don't put lines in the middle of it. That flare is too much. I'm gonna bring that back in. By doing this, oh, yep, I need 2 layers of flare. I absolutely need that. Okay. All right, and by doing that, I now know which piece, what space Chizzulo and the tree are allowed to move into. I may be doing more things with those energy effects later. But I'm now allowed to commit ink to the elephant. mean, I've already inked him a bunch, but I went light because I didn't know how much of him I would need to be applying whiteout over in order to hide. And I can't go too fine on his lines because he's going to have distant tree grain behind him, and I need those lines to look vanishingly small compared to him. A bit of his armor. And big, meaty neophant hand. And I had made bad decisions on his hand and needed to... have we lost focus on this? It looks like I may have bumped the camera. Previous session, I wrapped his fingers in a way that made the sashiko under him too small. And we need to fatten up the sergeant's lines a little bit. Make sure he stays in the foreground. This raises a very interesting question. What is Chizulo doing with the rest of his body? I don't know the answer of that question. So my son, who's going to sleep, looked at you drawing and says his hands look like mine, but he looks bigger than me. Yeah, I have chunky little hands, so kid's probably not all that wrong. Yeah, there are several decisions here, and I'm trying to make all of them at once. What was the name of the flying parkour? The katas of urban movement were parkata urbatsu. And so, yeah, it is the parkour martial art. Good question. Good question. All right, let's just draw some dang tree grain. We follow some of these lines, and in other places we cross, break some rules. Get that out of the way. as we move further and further into the background, the lines need to be getting closer and closer together and less distinct, which lets me do really sketchy, in more than one sense of the word, things. Whoops, that is not part of the tree trunk. Howard, don't follow it. You need to break that silhouette. How do we do? How do we do? Yeah. I'm still. I think this guy sticks out too far. This curve of the tree, I broke it. I broke the tree when I did that. And I added that curve, and this is being problematic because it's not part of the tree, but it's registering in my eye as if it is. So much whiteout. The pen that I'm using for this right now is not a brush. The pen is a technical pen. It's just got a little itty bitty nib. It's a Stettler pigment liner. I do have a brush pen that I'm gonna have to pick up here in a moment to do things. How much progress have we made? We've made a reasonable amount of progress. I am decently happy with where I am on this picture right now. I need to look at aspect ratio things because the cutouts for the window for the book tend to not be this wide. And so I may end up, if I chop the tree there, let's grab a piece of paper. If I chop it there, now that guy in the foreground needs to be, there's only so much cutting I can do before I lose detail. Okay, so in chat, B. Jerry asks, do you have a favorite character that was killed off or written out of the story that you would like to bring back? I miss the pepper grinder tag form with the Karloff voice. I do and I don't. And there's this principle at work here, which is Jim Zub described it once, saying that you have iconic heroes, Conan the Barbarian, and you have epic heroes, Matrim Coffin from Wheel of Time. Your iconic characters may have, life-changing sorts of events in their stories, and they may have, like Conan does, they may have an arc that, well, that was sloppy. As was that. Wow, Howard, you just suck. More white paint everywhere. Schlock Mercenary has a little bit of both. We have Sergeant Schlock, who, while he has gotten some character development recently, serves the function of an iconic character. We look at him in any given scene and have a pretty good idea of how he's going to respond. Other characters, Tagon, Kevin, Ennisby, Elf, Dr. Bunnigus, Murtaugh, Shell, Legs, Chizulo, Landon. These characters have arcs which will change their behavior quite a bit from story to story. And when they change, they don't get to go, what is that line? How the heck? Man, it's almost like I wasn't even looking at what I was doing. So you say you miss the, peppermill shaped touch and go avatar with the Karloff voice. Yeah, that's gone. That's kind of like, in some sense, a child that has grown up. As parents, we desperately hope our children will grow up and change and become their own people. But when they do, we realize that in a very real sense, that little kid is gone. Not gone in the same way they'd be gone if they were, actually dead, which is terribly tragic, but gone in the sense that the cute things they said, the cute things they did, those are always only memories. And the person who did that, who would continue to do that, no longer exists. This has been my TED Talk. This comes to you from the perspective of somebody who has 4 kids, the youngest of whom is 16. And man, I remember things about these kids that they just don't do anymore. So back to the original question, which is, are there characters that that you miss, that were killed off or written out of the story that you wish would come back? I don't think I did Brad justice. I had backstory for Brad. There were unanswered, in some cases unasked questions that his death made impossible to address. So I don't think I did that as well as I could have. I don't want to bring him back. I just regret not doing as well as I could. Quack Quack Honk has joined us again long enough to say, that looked awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Boy, this area up here is just going to be full of gribbly little details, and I want to have fun over here doing the fine rending, rend, tear, shred, fine rendering, and I still need to go in and do some black shadows, some hatching. But doing any of that over here puts it literally under my hand while I work on this, which makes a mess. And so And so I don't think I'm allowed to do, I'm not allowed to have fun yet. I'm not allowed to do that part yet. Looking at the pseudo, the free-handed lines of perspective on this deck. I'm going to need to put some sort of texture on this. Not huge amounts of detail, but it needs to have more visual interest than just a white thing. And maybe it's a good walkway of some sort, which would mean about that. Maybe does that look ish, right? Ish. All right, so that one's going to start right about there, maybe? Having some sort of tile pattern that I can break with that guy would be useful. All right, what have I done? Yeah. Quack Quack Honk asks, have you ever turned the paper upside down and worked on it like that? I actually do that quite a bit when I am rendering certain kinds of shapes, like geometries, and I'm trying to get like a spaceship shape right. This, I think that edge and that line and you and you. Yeah, you're not curved sharply enough, I don't think. That line is very clearly in the wrong place. That needs to be here. He says confidently with a question mark tone. No, that one's going to be straighter, I think. No, split the difference right in the middle. Look at it up on the big screen. Yeah, that's close to being right. Close, so close. Okay, Red Bookworm says, what is that blue pencil and what is the reason for penciling in blue? Kaitu answers, blue doesn't scan, so it'll disappear when he scans it. Yes, I'm going to scan this in black and white at a brightness level of 95, which is just a little bit, it's a little bit more likely to pick up the darkest of the blue lines, but it's less likely for my blotchy black bits to turn into fogs of pixels. Yeah, blue penciling lets me not erase as much. Yes, you should get a blue pencil. Look for non-repro, R-E-P-R-O, blue. That's the color you are Googling for. Often it will be called something like mint blue. These are non-repro blue leads for my big honkin'. I love the chunky feel of this pencil. Love it! But I can't work very well with the fat lead because I have to keep sharpening it, and that way lies madness. Anna Tarlow asks, does all your drawing work like this? Large atoms penciled, then inked, then pencils, more ink on gradually smaller details. From Twitter, I always pictured it more strictly done than all inks. Covers are different. I am handling the cover process very much in modules rather than layers. This is, Tagon is a module and Schlock is a module, and then the tentacle and the monster and the land. All of these are different pieces, and I try and lock them in one at a time. And the thing that I've just realized is that by creating this circuit pattern here, I've created an expectation for this grid, which says it can't be a grid. So what I have to do is break it into not a grid, but give it geometries that are, let's see if that's the halfway mark, that connect there. Is that going to be problematic under the blade? Probably not, because that will hit there. We basically what we're doing is we are giving the road racing stripes rather than a big boring grid. Why does it have racing stripes? I do not know. That is not, as it were, the salient point. But by drawing these patterns using the geometry of the grid as a guide, I can ensure that all that work I did to make the perspective look good is useful. Okay, so we have sort of a forked path to that. And then that line's gonna vanish off into the distance. And then where was, I erased something I needed, didn't I? I bet I erased something I needed. patterns. And if that meets there and comes out this way and is sort of rounded, very sci-fi. Very sci-fi. Do another little rounded nubbin off of this guy. That's going to connect and then terminate. And then we have a different line coming in from here. Which will drop off the corner of the page. How much eraser do I have left on this pencil? It's felt unending. I mean, I rarely used pencil erasers before I started working in blue. You know, I always used kneaded erasers because pencil erasers didn't last long enough, and they were crappy to try and get good erasure out of. But this one, boy, I just keep flipping the pencil over and rubbing the wax off the page with it. And somehow, I've had the pencil for months, more than months. Somehow, it still has a functioning eraser on it. All right, so you've bent that way. And then we had this curve, this. Is that going to work? Is that the right bit of curve? If I make those lines go away, is it going to? And a zig, and up, and so we have a solid chunk of line space here, and then over here in the back, another border line. And yeah, let's let those tabs come close to each other. Are they too close? Yeah. I'll look up a chat and see what chat thinks. Anna Tarlow says, it feels better. Sometimes that's all the reason needed. I don't know if you were talking about this or not. But that okay, I've got diagonals going this way. I need diagonals coming this way. That is absolutely what is missing. I need to break that up. But I liked Mr. Chonk. Can I keep that? Is that too big? No, it doesn't feel too big, provided the whole point of this is to be able to show this contacting something. give it a texture. And can I do this? If I do this, then I'm pretty sure I can. Those, and then this off the bottom of the page, straight towards the viewer. Get rid of some of these other lines and see if I've done it right. Chat asks, I say chat, Anna Tarlow asks, is that actual circuits? And if it is actual circuits, will the claw disrupt it in some way? That is the sort of thing that grows out of artistic storytelling. I don't have the answer. Oh, goodness me. I need to make sure that these circuits do things in this space. That might be enough. Whew. All right. Let's ink it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Don't answer that. Yeah, so far so good. There is a reason why this level of floor detail does not feature in the comic strip much. It is really time consuming. And while it adds a lot, it does not add as much as spending that amount of time drawing more comics adds. It's definitely a trade-off. The amount of detail I can put into one strip versus the need for more strips. Kaitu, an interesting tidbit I picked up from Lars' stream a couple of weeks ago is that while you can use a kneaded eraser like a conventional one, the intended way of using it is to roll it on the paper. Yeah. Kneaded erasers are they're very versatile. They're very versatile tools. The thing that I like about rubbing them on the paper as opposed to rolling them on the paper is that what I'm trying to pick up from the paper kind of needs to be scrubbed out of some grooves, and so rolling them just doesn't work. But if you're working in a medium like chalk, you can use the kneaded eraser to pick things up off the page that you just couldn't pick up otherwise. Oops, that one doesn't have the right perspective angles to it. Oh, well. And it looks like I've done enormously ugly smudgings on the tail of the Sushiko here. All right, hey, you know what? That does not look half bad with that circuit pattern. Does not look half bad. Yeah, Kaitu, Stettler Mars sells kneaded erasers. Those are typically the ones that I use because they're the ones that I started with. But you know what? I didn't like the shape of that. I'm gonna have to white it out. But there's numerous brands out there that are good. Trying to fatten these up just a bit to suggest the perspective effect that is happening, and freehanding it. Boy, this is the sort of thing, honestly, this is the sort of thing that a computer is way better at than a human being is. You draw a fun pattern like this, and then you tell the computer, now render it in perspective. Now scrunch up the surface that it's on. Now, yeah, it's a great job for not a human brain. How are we doing? I need to get in here with this eraser and start looking at what's going on in the background. Wow, yeah, look at that. That eraser just picked that ink right up and smeared it everywhere. That's awful. What is going? Are you dirty? Are you smearing junk on my page, you little smudgy dork? It may be. All right. Okay. Chizulo, hand, shoulder. The original pose was to have a hand out here, ready to punch. out the anatomy, if that's where that hand is, and Chizulo's, he could have a foot there, and his torso is there, and then I don't have to draw as much elephant, which is nice. But it leaves me with a gap in the picture that I'm going to need to fill with other things. So let's get his silhouette in place. That is a piece of Chizulo. This is some of Chizulo's armor. And hand back like this, like a human hand. I would do it this way, probably. Yeah. Let's try that again. Get it sized the same way as the existing hand. Actually does not look tough like I want it to look. I need to be doing something else with that hand. Probably holding something. That is his hand, and Chizulo is right-handed. Should draw the hand before trying to fit a gun into it. Part of the problem is that it's angling away from us in such a way. That would be the trigger finger. And those fingers would completely disappear yeah. Yeah, sure. Now we erase the worst of the wax and go in and bravely commit it to ink. I think the solution, I need to keep that hand large. I think the solution is going to be to increase the size of this hand. That's what the solution is going to be. And yeah, this is the sort of thing that most people probably wouldn't look at or notice, but that hand sticking out from behind the crackling fireball of Landon's weapon fire looks huge, and we know it's in the distance, and so we need something big elsewhere to compare it to, so it looks a little less out of place, and I haven't actually made his fingers long enough. Yeah, that's more of a Chizulo-sized hand. Okay, let's get rid of this big patch of blue. It's distracting me. That thing that I said earlier about rolling the eraser across the page, I don't roll it necessarily, but I do just kind of, I'm not scrubbing with it for some of these erasures. How are we doing? Well, that's actually coming along swimmingly. How are we doing on time? 7 o'clock. I've been doing this for an hour and 54 minutes. I think that before I am allowed to stop, I have to finish up what is in this space. And I think that what is in this space needs to be silhouettes of other members of the Tufts. Just silhouettes. I think that, come on, really? Really? Good night. Where was Chizulo's foot gonna go? Yeah, this is me freehanding an elephant's foot, kicking up behind him, as if I know what I'm doing. Okay, soldier silhouettes in the background. That is tight enough, I think, that I can start finalizing some of those lines. Well, I shouldn't have freehanded that. Got that line in exactly the wrong place. Oh well. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. We got some negative space right in here. Some negative space. Not very much, mind you, which will have Starfield in it. And Chizulo has his hand on the Sashiko's torso, which is crossing behind the torso of this other Sashiko and crossing behind Schlock. That's not going to get confusing at all. He said with desperate sarcasm. Oh. Super, super important principle here that we need to touch on. The center emotional point of this whole picture is right there. That's Schlock's hand and Tagon's hand, and I need to make sure that when this is colored, those items haven't fallen out of focus. So, I mean, ultimately what that means is notes for Travis. I need to tell him what I just told you guys. That is the emotional center of this piece. I can help that along a little by adding some renders there, and perhaps there, and this is we get to a point with these where what I'm going to be doing is shading, and the shading is all going to be, I mean, Travis can do a bang-up job of cell shading things, but the black ink shading adds, I was going to say gravitas, but I don't think I'm allowed to say gravitas. I don't think I'm important enough to say gravitas. Whew. All right. I think I need to add some of that shading. I think I need to go in and put down some of those lines. We are 2 hours and 2 minutes into this. Not sure how soon I'm going to stop. There were things that the family out in the rest of the house talked about maybe wanting to do with the evening, and I suppose I could go talk to them, consult with them on matters, but because it is, after all, Saturday night. But one of the things that I've found over decades of doing this is that when I'm moving, I need to keep moving. Oh, Sandra has joined chat. Hey, honey. Did we want to do anything with this evening besides this? Because when I'm streaming, it makes the big TV kind of off limits because that's right outside the door to my office. Red Bookworm says, I started following Sandra on Twitter today. You should all follow Sandra on Twitter today or tomorrow or whatever day it is. She has lots of interesting things to say about the world without the snark, the desperate desire to entertain that shines through in my own tweets. Yep, I need to keep doing that. I need to keep doing that. Am I sticking my head in front of the art cam? I can't tell. Those hatches are pointed the wrong direction. Oh well. This part I'm doing here, this was a very, very, very good idea to not put here until I no longer need to draw on this part of the page again, because this stuff is smudge town. If I run my hand across it wrong, it'll make such a mess. Looking in chat. Hello, people in chat. I was looking for a thread I could grab to conversation, but nope. Nope. By the way, if you've been watching Big Dumb Cover Art 2 and 3, seeing this part happen, this is the point at which the piece really starts to take shape. And it's always a little thrilling for me to do it, because this is the point at which I can tell whether or not what I was picturing, just the energy of the picture, what I was picturing is actually happening. Up until this point, it's all just outlines and tracery. Okay, where's the shadow on that blade? All right, Schlocks. And I've got a line in the wrong place on Schlock's hand. Where'd the white pen go? There it is. Several lines in the wrong place on him. Yeah, that's starting to come together nicely. That is starting to come together nicely. Although, after having added this, I'm realizing that I need to go ahead and put more detail into this chunk of the tail. And I don't actually love these shapes, but curve, curve, toothy, straight. This piece of the picture might not even be visible once Travis is done with the coloring and we're done with the cropping. But if it's not here, and I realize I need just a little bit more image on one edge or another, it's really annoying to try to go back in and post go back in post and add stuff like this. So, all right, and then in order to paint these, my hand there. So I got to do them upside down and hope that I'm seeing them correctly. From this angle, I just don't think I will get the curves right. I think I'm going to screw this right up. Looks like it worked. Looks like I got away with it. Yay. Damn. I'm digging it. I am legit really digging it. Okay, let's shade, schlock. I'm putting ink on top of whiteout from where I had to fix his hand. And then just a little bit more border. Seems to be working. Okay, I have paint on me. Anna Tarlow asks, does the ink lay differently on the whiteout than the paper? Yeah, it does. And it depends on which pen. It depends really heavily on which pen. Some of the pens will scrape the ink right up. Some of the pens will dissolve the ink and smear it around and make brown junk. And some of the pens go on it just fine, but the surface of the paint will change the way the ink applies, and let's just say it's annoying to have to paint black on top of those lines are too close together. Several of those lines are too close together. I can't do that. That just looks these silhouettes are breaking each other in bad ways. Howard, learn to pay attention. So you're gone, and you need to be more interesting. So we'll do this to you, because we can't have this line and this line and this line all together. Okay, that bit's fixed. And that bit is almost fixed. Got white paint on the nib of my .7. Okay. What time is it? It is 7:25 my time. We've been doing this for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Trying to decide how much longer to go, because I may be fading. Taco o'clock. Yes, yes, it is taco o'clock. And you know what I don't have? I don't have tacos. Oh, and Sandra says, you need food to show up? Maybe. Yeah, that's I really don't want to come across as that guy, but Sandra and I have learned through long years of experience that once I get moving, it's often super valuable to us to just keep me moving by throwing food in front of me while I work. So yes, honey, I need food to show up. Thank you. All right, when I'm shading Landon, I want to do things that make it so that he does not look like he is made out of the same stuff as the ESPYs. I want to shade him a little bit differently. And that is a decision that I am making right now, which I will probably regret, because it's so much easier to just go with the brush strokes I know than to try to come up with something new. And I think adding cross pieces will solve it for me. doing these guys. I think. Oh, pushed it right off to where you can't see it. Right off to where you can't see me screw it up. All right, yeah, now Landon's armor has a slightly different texture to it. Oh, microwave pot pie in 15 minutes, the dinner of champions. That will work. The problem with pot pie, of course, is that 15 minutes from now, when it's done, it'll be too hot to eat. And it just requires concentration to get the dang things out of their shells. But I'm not gonna look gift food in the mouth. Perspective on these arm pieces is wrong. Man, I've been running my hand right over the top of all of that stuff. How much of a mess have I made? A little bit. A little bit. How much ink have I got on my hand? Okay, light is definitely coming from there. I hear Sandra laughing really loud all the way out in the front room, and I don't know if it's because of chat or if it's because I've missed something fun that the rest of the family is doing. Or you've missed the rest of the family reading chat and laughing out loud about it. Yep, that could very much be it as well. All right, so how is Landon looking? I am not pleased with this bit. And this. Oops. That is not the right line. Oh well. Okay, that is a soldier in the background. This is a portion of Landon's leg, and I haven't defined the shapes of the things in there very well. So we'll just fake it with a bunch of dark fills. That was so incredibly lazy. So lazy. Do you like the sauce on unagi rolls? I really like the sauce on unagi rolls. We buy it by the quart here at Shea Taylor. Unagi sauce. Yeah, that's working. That's working.
TV's going to want to go on in about 15 minutes.
Okay. I have been warned that people want to start watching TV, which gives me a hard stop. That is the end of streaming. The moment the moment the TV turns on. Wow, that piece of the cover. That is looking just really nice. I am very happy with that. Big Dumb Cover Art 5. My hand is starting to hurt. Big Dumb Cover Art 5 will be the tree and the shading over here. I know I could dive in and do more of the shading right now, but my hand hurts, and if I keep doing it, I will end up with a big patch of ink here that I then need to reach across as I'm rendering the tree. So it has to wait. I'm going to take a couple of minutes and scan through chat. I'm almost scared to ask what you eat the unagi sauce on that you need to buy so much of it. Well, ultimately, the answer is we buy it by the quart so that we can fill a little jar with it so that when we order sushi or when we make when we make rice bowls or whatever, we can grab the little bottle and go and squirt unagi sauce on it, and not need to go to the grocery store to get more unagi sauce every couple of weeks. So I'll feed them to my husband. By the way, first time watching you stream. Fulmir says, by the way, first time watching you stream, and I just want to say thank you for this comic. Been reading it for like 14 years now. It's by far my favorite webcomic of all time, and it's gotten me through some tough times, mentally speaking. Thanks. Fulmir, you're very welcome. In the last 14 years, Schlock Mercenary has gotten me through some tough times, mentally speaking, and I'm happy that the jokes that I'm telling myself for money are telling myself for your money are functioning to help other people as well. I love that Howard makes the H sound in WH words. So, who, what, when, where? It's got an H in it, and I mean, werewolf is different than werewolf, right? When? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I suppose I could untalk that way if I had a linguist coach and a pressing need, but I don't. Okay. 2 hours and 34 minutes. That's a pretty decent stream. Thank you very much, everyone. Big Dumb Objects 5. I might actually stream some of this tomorrow. I don't like working on Sundays, but this feels like play to me, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm relaxing to it. And with today's stream, by getting this piece penciled and by figuring out the grain on the Tree City, and by figuring out the template on the floor, I got this piece from yes, this is a decent cover to this may be my favorite cover I've done. So, and you guys, you were all here for it. So this has been Howard Taylor's Drafting Table, Big Dumb Cover Art 4. Tune in soon for Big Dumb Cover Art 5, and hopefully I won't I won't wreck it. Good night, everybody.